Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Afcon Show, the show that gives you everything related to the wonderful tournament that's taking place in the beautiful nation of Cameroon. I am Nolo, and I am joined by my co-hosts, my fellow panelists, Sfiso, Mto, Sizwe. So, without going too far, I need to start with one of them, and I'm just going to randomly pick. And he said I mustn't start with him, so I'm just going to ask him how he is, just to get him, okay. Mto, how are you, my brother?
Yes, sir. But man, I've got such a name I want to call you with, but I won't do it for the people because I specifically asked you not to start with me because I was sick a couple of days ago, so I'm not in the best shape. But I'm recovering very well, and it's good to be back and doing this again.
Coach C's, my brother, how are you?
I'm strong, my brother. Good to see you, gents. Good to see him toes back again. But yeah, I'm doing well. Looking forward to the round of 16, the business end of the tournament. So yeah.
The real business end. This is where the deals are signed. This is where the transactions are made. And this is where we see who's got the big money spenders in their team to basically take them all the way to the bank to cash in that tournament check. Sfiso, how are you, my boy?
Fresh.
So short, so simple.
I'm joking. I'm all good, my dog. Happy to be here. Obviously, giving the viewers what they want and us just chopping it up is always a festive moment, something to look forward to. But yeah, I think in terms of the tournament, having a great time watching the last bit of the group games, and yeah, looking forward to the rest of the tournament.
Well, as you've heard, the gents are okay. So the round of 16 is starting on Sunday. We are recording this on the Friday night. So by the time you watch this, hopefully you would have seen what we want to talk about today, which is our thoughts and us reviewing the group stages of the tournament. So everyone is going to be tasked with giving us three things. They need to give us their game of the tournament. They need to give us their highlights and lowlights, as well as, in their opinion, who is currently the best player out of the group stages. So let me start with the coach, the man with the eye, the man who can basically thread a needle out of nowhere with just cones and a ball. Coach C's, tell me, my brother, who was the best player of the tournament for you?
Well, we'll start with best player. Quite a few, man. But I mean, just to respect the question, respect time, I'll try to hone it in. I've been impressed with Vincent Abubakar. Scored 5 goals, obviously, so he's been doing quite well. And Ibrahim Kone as well from Mali. So I mean, the game's about goals, so you're looking for goal scorers. So they've impressed me. But also, I thought Nigeria is one of the most organized teams in the tournament, and the centre-back pairing, but mostly Trust Ekong, who's played with 2 partners, but he's managed to keep them very solid. So I've been impressed with him. So those are my 3 top players of the tournament so far.
Okay, no, I thought you were going to mention another player, but I think I know who is going to call that player out, specifically from Nigeria. So you've seen the games, you've seen Abubakar score 5 goals, and I think he's matched Samuel Eto's record at this point in time. So leading to that, what has been your highlight and what has been your low light?
My low light has been that ref. That ref has been my low light. I think it was just unnecessary attention and publicity for the African game. I mean, I think all other refs have handled the games professionally. They've called the game pretty well. So that was a low light. I think the tournament didn't need that. And then highlight, I think Comoros going through. I'm still not a fan of the best third placed whatever, but I mean, if you've got 24 teams in a tournament, you need to find a way. But I thought a small nation like that going through in such a difficult group, I thought they did pretty well, and so I'm happy for them. So that's a highlight in the tournament.
Indeed, and Comoros going through, for me, to be honest, has been a surprise because we've seen some pretty big teams, fall to the sword of not being good enough, and Comoros has been good enough to get through based on the competition rules. Now, leading to that, I think we can end it off with what you would tell us has been the best game of the group stage in your opinion.
Yeah, this one is a tough one because the games haven't been like out of this world. I think from a footballing point of view. So if I had to, I'll go with it was in match day 1, Equatorial Guinea versus Ivory Coast. I thought both teams were well prepared, had clarity in how they wanted to play, and it was a good tactical affair. No one overpowered the other, and they were very clear. So from a tactical point of view, I enjoyed that game. But from an edge of your seat stuff, 2 games. So Comoros Ghana really had me at the edge of my seat because there was a lot of connotations in that game. So Comoros led, Ghana came back, Comoros got the goal at the end, so that was edge of the seat stuff. And then Ivory Coast and Algeria as well, because there was a lot to play for Algeria. And I thought Ivory Coast were on fire. They were on fire. Mahrez missed a penalty. Algeria scored late, so that was also edge of your seat stuff. Not neat, the game, but at least it gives entertainment value, something to watch, gets the people speaking. It's provocative, as Jay-Z or Kanye West says. Yeah, so that was my top games.
It gets the people going.
Yeah,
it gets the people going. No, thank you very much for that. So now let's go on to the next person. Sfiso, my brother, as provocative as Sizwe has said that those games were, who has been your provocative player? Who has been that person that, has given you a bit of excitement?
I definitely think I'm in agreement with Sizwe, with, Vincent Obabaka. I think, he went into the tournament and he's come through the Cameroon side for quite a few years now. And I think for him to still step it up and show that he still has what it takes, I think he's literally probably proven the doubters. So definitely he's amongst my best players, but I think the one that really stood out for me and really impressed me was Moses Simon. I think, to go into a tournament as a fairly unknown player and to stamp your authority. I think obviously we know that, Augustine Aguavon played Iwobi in that other game, but I think, it still didn't necessarily knock down the talent of a Moses Simon in that Nigeria side, and I think he's definitely impressed for me. If there aren't, greater teams that will be knocking for his signature, I'll be very, very surprised.
See, I knew, and I said it, I knew that there was going to be one person in this panel, one person who was going to select the guy who parts the seas, and it was you. I knew it. I knew you were going to select Moses Simon, man. But anyway, I know he has excited you. He has been a very, very nifty player. I think arguably his best game was against Egypt because he caused so many problems for that Egyptian defense. But now, your highlight, your low light, hopefully it doesn't involve refs, but if it does, I understand.
I think my highlight is definitely seeing, the teams step it up in those second games, as well as the final rounds of matches. I think we can all agree that the tournament started quite nervy, it started quite soft, and I think to see the teams take it a bit more seriously in those, second round games and the third round games, basically showed that it was all to play for and people were hungry to step it up more than anything. In terms of a low light, I think for me I'd say my low light involves 2 teams. The Ghana side, I think they were pretty disappointing if we being brutally honest, and the Senegal side, albeit them qualifying for the knockout rounds, but to go through with literally a gifted goal in the 97th minute against a really strong Zimbabwe side, I definitely think they haven't really stepped it up or shown their pedigree, and when you look at the roster and the team of players that they have, you sort of expect better from those 2 teams.
I mean, those are very, very interesting points that you mentioned there, especially in and around the Ghanaian team. I'm sure for many it is a highlight due to the comments that were made by their captain, Mr. Ayew over there. But now, your game of the tournament, I think maybe you've already hinted and alluded at it, but I may be wrong. So let us know. What is your game of the tournament?
I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of getting 2 out of 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with my second option. My second option was Zim versus Guinea game. I definitely think it was a really interesting match. You know, when most people probably assumed it to be a deadbeat match that really meant nothing. I think the Zimbabwean team went against the FA. Pretty political statement to make, but they went against the FA, and you know, they proved that they went there at the tournament to just add numbers. I think the match that you probably assumed that I would pick is definitely the Egypt versus Nigeria match. I think that was the final before the final, to be very honest. One of the best games in the round of matches that we saw.
Thank you for that, my brother. With regards to Egypt and Nigeria being the potential prelude to what may be the final, if you are correct about that, I'm sure I have a few people who want to call you and get you on speed dial ASAP. But now, he has basically told us himself that he was sick. Some people call it football-alitis. He watched too much football. He watched too many things that excited him. So and he came down with football fever. So, my brother, I don't know what you used to basically cure what was ailing you, but I do hope it was the favorite player thus far in the tournament. Who has been your best player thus far?
Yeah, no, my brother, it was a lot of things that I used. Definitely the Afcon games. I think the last round of fixtures was so exciting that we were all on the edge of our seats, and it was nail-biting stuff. Coming from a guy who bites his nails, I actually did that a lot during these games. And the player that stood out for me, well, there's a few. I mean, I agree with the gents, Moses Simon, Vincent Abubakar. They've been good, those guys. But I've been impressed by a gun from Gabon. Now, I'm going to try and pronounce his name correctly. I hope I don't mess it up. It's Jim Aleniva. You might have seen him. He's a yellow bonyana there by the Gabonese team. He's been
So you saw someone who looked like you, and you were like, this brother is my favorite one.
Man, he's like, I mean, but anyway, yeah, he's been solid because, like the gents have alluded to, the fact that the small sides usually go there and they defend, and they're not about attacking and stuff like that. But he's been able to get 2 goals for his nation. You might remember his first goal came against Ghana in that very crucial draw, that last minute goal that they got to get that draw. He's been impressive because he's playing for the Minos, but having said that, he's really showed up. He's stood up for his side, and you know, he's been counted for. And that's it in terms of my favorite player so far. Someone who's really showed up. I'm not going to mention too many names.
100%. So now, moving swiftly along, tell us your low light and your highlight.
Low light, highlight. I think, gents, look, I mean, let's not also be very pessimistic when we speak about the Afcon. I remember after the first round of games, many people were already writing it out, like, this tournament is bad. We come here and we act like the World Cup, the Euros, they light the stage on fire in the opening games. It doesn't happen like that. But with everything that's negative that has happened, I think there have been some good things. The minnows coming out to prove themselves and so on and so forth. We can say that there's been some good things. So I think my highlight would be Comoros, who really did well. You'll remember after the first couple of shows where we spoke, I said something like, being their first time at the tournament, and you're always told that you always remember your first time. But if they continued shooting blanks, they were not going to remember their first time. But they didn't continue shooting blanks, thankfully, and now they're in the round of 16. So it's really kudos to them. They've tried, and that's what you want to do when you're at your first Afcon. That's my highlight. Low light, I think, the big name players. I don't know if I'm the only one who's seen this, but I've really been disappointed at the big name players. Salah hasn't set the stage alight. Mane hasn't set the stage alight. Mahrez missed a penalty the other day. So I'm really disappointed at the big name players. I think someone who's really trying is Hakimi. He's really playing well for Morocco. He scored in their last game of the group stages. But most of the big name players haven't come to the fore. And you'll remember also one thing I've always alluded to was the fact that when we've got such tournaments where it's Africa against Africa to the world. They're showing the world what we have. We really need those big name guys to show up and show us what they've got. I mean, Thomas Partey going back to Arsenal a day after playing for his country, after losing with his country, then going to Arsenal and then doing what he did. It's disappointing. What are you saying about us? You're disrespecting the African continent. I really didn't like that. And the big name players, they need to hold themselves accountable. They've been disappointing so far.
Oof, strong words indeed. By Mto right now. So I think this sickness, ye football lighters, has given him a different lens and a different view. But I do agree with the fact that a lot of questions are going to be asked about the big name players who play in Europe. I mean, I even read tweets about the fact that guys are being put in the back pocket of people who have day jobs, and their day jobs are not playing football. So if that is the case, then very, very, very interesting. But then again, my brother, you've stated a lot. You've mentioned a lot of teams, especially small teams who've surprised you. So would it be correct to assume that your game of the tournament thus far, of the group stages, involves a small team? And if not, please correct me.
100%. You see, you're brilliant at this thing because you listen very well, my friend. So kudos to you. It involves a small team, and it was the last game of the group stages. It happened on Tuesday, if I remember correctly. It was Gabon versus Morocco, and it ended 2-2. And the guy that I just mentioned, Aleniva, I think is his surname. I hope I don't get it wrong. I don't pronounce it wrong. It ended 2-2. So it was end-to-end stuff. And I think for them, once again, small nation to come out and say, well, this is Morocco, but we don't care who's put in front of us. We want to qualify. This is the last game of the group stages. If we can win this or at least get a positive result, such as a draw, we can go forward. And they came out guns blazing and they got a 2-2 draw. It was exciting stuff. It really, really was. I think if you had watched that game, you would have seen. And then also from maybe a tactical point of view, first game I watched Mali and Tunisia. Or rather not first game I watched, but I should say their first game of the tournament, both sides. I thought Mali were fantastic in that game. I remember listening to Gavin Hunt in studio when I was watching, and he said that Mali had been the best side that he had seen, how they set up tactically. And I thought they were brilliant against a North African team that defends really well. One might say, the climate they were playing earlier on, it was the early kickoff, and the climate wasn't suitable to the North African giants. But still, I thought Mali were brilliant in that game, and tactically it was a good game to watch. So yeah, that's me, man.
Whew. Hey man, you've mentioned so much, but then again, guys, that has been what my panel, my co-hosts, and the fellow people on the show have listed as their game of the group stages, the highlights, the lowlights, and their players thus far of the tournament. So before I move on, and I ask you to please let us know in the comment section which one was yours, which one was your game of the tournament, which one was your highlight, lowlight, and who was your player of the tournament. I just want to mention one thing from the listed aspects that we've just mentioned now. But I do think that Thomas Partey is going to be my player of the group stages, and not for the right reasons. And Arsenal do have a lot to answer for as to what had happened last night, but I do not understand how you can go and get kicked out of a tournament, a major African tournament, and then play for your club the next day. Not even 12 hours later, you've taken a flight, you've probably slept 2 hours, and then you go and you play for your team. It makes no sense to me. But then again, this is football. We've seen stranger things happen. But with that being said, I've been Nolo, and with my co-host, my panel, we wish that you guys enjoy the rest of the tournament, and we will see you after the round of 16 with another preview.